I never played the original Wasteland. I actually didn't get into computer RPGs until the first Fallout, having only briefly tried games such as Ultima 8 and Al-Qadim: The Genie's Curse. Until the original Fallout, I was used to Japanese RPGs, having discovered the genre with Final Fantasy on the NES. I was going into Wasteland 2 expecting something similar to the original Fallout, but a lot of time has passed since then, and after playing modern games, you tend to forget the slower, more methodical pace of such a genre, especially if you don't exactly have nostalgic ties to it. And even though in many ways the Fallout games seem like a spiritual successor to Wasteland, playing Wasteland 2 has shown me the difference in focus. Fallout is primarily about one playable character with others joining and leaving your side. Wasteland 2 is about an entire party. Fallout has combat, but seems more interested in the subtleties of role-playing and player choice. Wasteland 2 is more heavily combat-focused. The speech skill and the ability to talk your way out of situations is a staple of the Fallout games. In Wasteland 2, you can level up categories of behavioral responses, but it doesn't seem as important to do so, being more of a side gimmick to round out the world. Because you are in control of a party, skills play a greater role. You have at least 4 characters to fill, with specialties of knowledge and abilities, such as lockpicking, safecracking, explosives, outdoorsman knowledge, and the separate skills of field medic and surgeon. I've only scratched the surface, but all these skills are almost a requirement for surviving in the world, especially if you want to keep your ammo reserves up. And it turns each individual into a multi-specialist. It means in one of my 2 attempts at the game, I had a character who had no combat skills whatsoever. I loaded him with a leadership skill and a large amount of other qualities. He was insanely useful, but it did feel weird to have a party member who couldn't protect themselves in combat. I think that's why during creation I made him religious, to give him proper motivation for staying out of hostilities. So can you believe that I originally started the game with the default party electing not to make my own characters? That changed about 3 hours in when I felt like I was missing out on a lot of what the game had to offer. I restarted again with a walkthrough, helping me make specialized characters suited towards the wastes, and making sure I was aware of everything I could do at every step through the game. This presented a moral quandary. In the past, RPGs are one of the genres I always use a walkthrough for. They're so large and so full of content that A, I want to make sure I don't miss out on anything because I'm not one to replay games, and B, I've played too many JRPGs where I get 30 hours or so in and then hit a brick wall because I was underleveled or leveled up incorrectly. When it comes to these videos, however, I told myself that walkthroughs were not a good idea because I wouldn't be able to adequately describe my time with the game if I had help getting through it. After playing 3 hours of Wasteland 2 without a walkthrough and 3.5 with one, I'm wondering about that stance. Having the right party and understanding a lot more about how the game works, especially in terms of using skills in the world, has had a positive effect upon how I perceive the game. But I understand that it gives me a more omnipotent view of Wasteland 2 as a whole, rather than the view of being in the trenches, as it were, experiencing the game as it happens. And with that larger perspective, I'd like to talk about a boss encounter in the AG Center. If you'd like to avoid any spoilers about this early encounter, this is the last thing I will be discussing in regards to the game, so you can end the video with no hard feelings. We good to move ahead now? Good. There's a scientist who is responsible for the mutations that have been occurring. You find him supposedly injured and surrounded by enemies. You clear the enemies, and then you are able to talk to him. He's one of those surprise bosses that gets a free round of attacks after you finish your conversation. That means you have to move at least one team member to talking range. He gets at least 4 shots off with a really strong pistol on his first turn. On more than one attempt, I lost 2 team members before I could even fire back. Then, when you finally kill him, a feat that is more difficult than it seems, he triggers an explosive that will seriously harm anyone within firing distance, so if you have a melee or shotgun user, good luck on them surviving, if they weren't dropped in the opening turn already. On my final attempt, I lost 2 party members, and they were bleeding out. Luckily, I had a party member with a high surgeon skill, so I could save them if I acted quickly. Oh wait, the surgeon is one of the 2 bleeding to death. There was nothing I could do. Even with my omnipotent power of walkthrough knowledge and preparation, I have to wonder if this encounter is set up to make you lose at least one of your party members, or if even with assistance, I'm just not suited to survival in the wastes. Regardless, I kinda want to give it another shot.